Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Clinton, Geoffrey, Adam Ross here, as we are every Tuesday. How's it going today, bud?
Not too bad, man. I've been sick. I caught your cold, and you and I weren't together. You were sick last week. I'm sick this week, so I'm on the upswing. But I can't afford to be sick this week.
Got a big week. You got a big week coming up. You got a big week coming up, and for those of you who don't know, Adam's in a weight loss challenge since last September with our Ashweekend flagman, Dave Huntsinger, who bring Dave on the show, Spencer, because Dave is hammering away in the gym, and he'll be joining us here shortly. So as soon as we get Dave on the line.
Dave's going to work in the home gym. I jogged 15 kilometers last week. So 3 nights, 5 kilometers each time. And then
that was going to be my question. All at once? 15 kilometers? That'd be like massive impressive.
The farthest I got before I had to walk was 2.5 kilometers. So pacing is important.
So the big race comes up this Sunday. But while we wait for Dave to join, let's talk about what we did last Friday, I think it was. You got invited out to some wrestling in Hamilton. How that all come about, and why are we talking about that on the show?
It all ties in. So I have always been, interesting story, Clinton. I think you know this. My parents met at a speedway, so racing was passed down to me. But my grandparents weren't into racing. My grandparents were into wrestling. They took my dad to wrestling. My dad took me and my brother to wrestling. So our lineage in wrestling runs deeper than our lineage in racing. I love the sport. I love the entertainment of pro wrestling. One of the people who watches what we're up to, Ray Osborne, had mentioned, hey, he works at the Germania Club in Hamilton, and they often have wrestling events. Would I like to come down? Like, yeah, of course they would. And it's one of those things, Clinton, where you say yes, you have every intention of doing it, but just never could put it together. March 17th, we got a big event coming. Greektown Wrestling is coming if you want to come down. What a show. What a great show. Come to find out, Ray Osborne was retiring this weekend. Like, it was a big send-off to Ray, so he got me the ticket. I sat with his brother-in-law. His brother-in-law was taking pictures. And what a great small venue. What a great show. And what I said to you, Clinton, chat, there's so much we can learn from other sports, from other forms of entertainment that we could put to work in a racing show. And I saw a bunch of things about this particular program. Like, wow, we could do this sort of thing, and it'd be phenomenal.
Show some pictures, Spencer. So, it looked like you had a good time. I've been kind of a wrestling history buff. Wouldn't say I'm a huge fan, but I love the stories behind a lot of the big characters.
And I mean, being under the weather, homesick today, I watched a lot of biography stuff. If you get a chance to watch, it's on A&E, but if you get a chance to watch the biography on China, I found that really, really good. I watched all of them: King, Jerry Lawler, China. Can't remember who else, but they were pretty fantastic.
Well, we're hoping Dave Huntsinger can get back on and join us. He waited around for 20 minutes to get on, and the minute we went to go to him, he dropped the ball, and the connection went away. So we can answer some fan questions. We're also going to have Mark Rinaldi coming on to talk about rules. And
I don't blame.
Go ahead.
I don't blame Dave for being scared. His internet didn't crash.
Ooh.
He took one look at me on camera and thought, "Wow, I got some catching up to do." That Adam, he's pulling his weight. It's not as much weight as there was last September for him to pull, but I think Dave got cold feet. In fact, I'd be surprised if he even shows up to do this 5K on Sunday, Clinton. So maybe we might need a fill-in if you want to come down.
Get him in there, Spencer. Is Dave around? I think I see his picture reconnecting here.
He's not on camera. We're looking at his basement. Someone should tell him when he walks on the treadmill, he's not going to get any closer to... Oh, there we go.
He's working out. How's it going, Dave?
How you guys doing? It was just...
Good.
Just getting back in from the run. And it's good that you guys were talking about the wrestling, so I got the Ric Flair shirt on here.
Woo!
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, Adam, there is definitely no fear in showing up for this 5K. And I am ready to kick your ass all over the place.
I heard you already had a doctor's note to get out of it.
Well, I have had back problems, but I'm going to take about 6 or 8 Robaxa sets before we go, and I'm going to be ready to go, and I'll be at the finish line waiting for you. I'm not pulling this on, staying home from work sick act here like you are. So that's.
See, I have a theory, Dave. Adam's not really sick. He's just power thrashing like a kid cramming for his final here in the last week. So he's trying to keep working out. But let's be serious, guys. You guys did this for a good cause to try and get healthier in September. It's at least driven you guys to both keep working throughout the off season, and it all culminates at the Around the Bay Race 5K on this Sunday. So, what do you know about the venue, Adam or Dave, and where can fans kind of maybe line up and throw the bananas at you?
I know nothing. I do know this. You cannot get around the bay in 5 kilometers, so I'm hoping there's a bus that picks us up at some point to take us most of the way around.
Well, I got looking into the event too, and they've got a relay race that we could strongly look into next year, and we could get Adam, Clint, myself, maybe Doug, get them in there, get them running. So, but basically it's going to start at Bay Street right in front of Cops Coliseum. And we head over to York Boulevard, and we go 2.5 kilometers down York Boulevard, make a U-turn, and then I will pass Adam waving to him on the way back. And then we finish inside Cops Coliseum. So it starts at 9:45 on Sunday, and I'm ready to go. I don't know about Adam, but
yeah, I'm in now. Clint, this is not the culmination. This was just a stupid comment that Dave and I made to each other. Saying, hey, do you run? No, I don't run. Do you run? No. We should do a 5K. That's sort of how that came about.
And I started running on the treadmill down in the basement here, doing, starting out at a, 1.5 kilometers, and then keep moving up. And I finally got to 5K. I'm like, all right, this is all right. We can do this. And then at the start of March, I went out and started running it outside, and I was like, holy crap. This is a lot farther than I had anticipated, but we're ready to go. I'm ready to go. Adam's ready to go. I got Jeff and Leah Bassendale joining us, and Leah's cousin, I can't remember her name. It's Nardi from Hamilton. The 3 of them, they're going to be joining us, and we got a crew going down, so it'll be fun.
So if it starts at 9:45, what time should we expect you to arrive back at Cops Coliseum?
Well, I did register Adam for this, and they do say, predict what your time is. And the longest selection you could do was 40 minutes and under. So that's what I had to pick for Adam. I picked 35 minutes and under. So I'm shooting for, 20 after 10.
Right on, Dave. It'll be fun to have you back in the starter stand.
What time are you predicting?
It's been a weird off season. Like, I've never had to do an off season of racing where I've been involved. I've always waited for Ryan to say, hey, yeah, we're going to start working on the car or whatever. And be like, yeah, okay, I'm playing hockey, whatever. But now it's like, let's get to the flag stand. Let's get to the racetrack here. Let's go. So it's going to be fun.
We do have some fun things planned for Dave this year, and it's exciting to get back to it. And we look forward to you guys on Sunday.
Just hang on, Dave. What? Call your time. What are you going to do?
Me, I'm going to do 34 minutes and let's say 34 minutes 21 seconds.
I'm going to do 34 minutes and 30 seconds. And do you know why I picked a slower time than you? I picked a slower time than you because you're going to look like a complete ass when you don't even come close to your target, and I come strolling across in mine.
Hey, the big thing is that we're out here, we're doing this. We've been eating better, we've been eating healthier, and I think Clinton's going to have to eat some bananas or something during the race season.
So many bananas.
Well, wait a minute. Me and Dave come up with a plan here because I'm fully Team Huntsinger, obviously. So I'm thinking, however many bananas I owe you for each pound that you've lost, we should offset that by Dave's poundage, and whatever the difference is, I owe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if Dave's lost 20 and you lost 30, I owe you 10 bananas.
No. The Ashwegan Weasel, Clinton Geoffrey. I think this is phenomenal. I'm already going to get some shirts made up. Just the Weasels like nuts, don't they? Because I'd love to incorporate nuts into it just because. Clinton, Weasel, and nuts.
I
All
won't
on the same
weasel.
shirt.
I'll eat a banana
You
for
are,
every
yeah.
pound you eat. Don't you worry. I'm just teasing. I know you get your
I
pennies in
think
a
it
wad.
should work that way. I can't believe you won't give into it. It's almost like
No.
you're scared.
I can't have him crying about it all year, so we'll just let it go. I can cram another 10 bananas in because that's really all we're worried about here. So,
Dave,
All
you remind me of Mrs. Garrett from Facts of Life.
are you gonna wear that in the race, Dave?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I've got like a fruit salad onesie that my wife, I was going to wear tonight, but my wife, she wouldn't let me. She shot that down. So I settled for Ric Flair. So I don't know what I'm going to wear yet Saturday. We'll see. So, but
She's
it's going to
smart.
be 9:45 start time down in Hamilton. Come on out and cheer. Adam and I will put something up on the big old Facebook page to get everybody some info for it. And hey, don't be afraid to donate on our Facebook page either. We're doing some good causes here. So,
Right on, guys. Thanks, Dave, for joining us. We'll see you on the weekend.
Dave, we'll see
Yeah,
you on
thanks,
the weekend,
guys.
man.
All right.
And
thanks,
Mr.
guys.
Chopez guy, Clinton, is speaking in jest, full wrestling promo. But that is one of the things I think we could incorporate into our weekly program at Ash Weekend is some of our drivers a little bit different than the traditional wrestling promo. But there's no reason why we couldn't have some of our people cutting a great line or two to promote the next event coming up. There's things they do to promote these wrestling shows that we're missing the boat on in short track racing big time.
Definitely. There's certainly some cues we could pull up there. I think the key there is keeping the authenticity, right? You know, you got to bring out the real characters. And I think anytime we've tried to make someone do something they're not prepared to, it doesn't really come off well. But we definitely have some genuine characters who can make that work.
Have you seen what's going on in the sport this off season locally? There's more drama there than there is in any WWE promo I've seen.
No doubt. Who makes the rules? That's a good question, Adam. We can get into that discussion a bit when Mark Rinaldi joins us here in a little bit. Let's jump into our Burger Barn videos of the week. This is a discussion we've had in the past regarding transponders and where the scored finish is. So, in a finish like this, when cars are skidding across the back, are they awarding them visually or are they awarding them by transponders? I believe we have two looks at the video. Let's look at this Xfinity finish from Saturday, part of our Burger Barn video of the week. So they come crashing in, and one car's clearly across backwards. So one or two are good, but third or fourth are across the line. Is that the third or fourth place car that come across the line, Adam?
Well, look at the scoring pylon and look how it scored it initially. When you watched it live, and I sent this video live, how did it have it scored? And then watch the finish again. Now, I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but I'm about to throw you direct. In fact, I'm driving the bus because you and Doug Leonard teamed up on me. Said we go by the transponders, that's what's in the rule book. Well, you couple of dumbasses, you go by the first point of the car that crosses the start-finish line. The start-finish line extends from the outside wall to the inside of pit road. No matter where the car crosses that line that extends all the way to the infield, that's where they get scored. You cannot go by transponder.
Okay, I get it. When you have all NASCAR's technology, all their camera views, it's not hard to make those judgments. When this happens in the middle...
NASCAR technology is what had the scored finish wrong. But they even say unofficial results because they will go back and review it. But that was my point when we had the discussion, is you can't make a blanket statement that we go by transponders and that's how it is. Right? It just doesn't work that way.
I can't argue. I mean, in a situation like that where it's clearly the top three, we would have the video proof to be able to turn that over and change it. But you do need, I guess... Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Doug just said it. Where's the start-finish line on a dirt track? But I think what we could do is we could visually put a camera with a line straight across to a post on the inside and it would be a visual plane that we would clearly be able to see someone was across. Not necessarily a chalk mark on the speedway, but a line of reference visually that we could work off of.
You could,
Well,
you could
Spencer
do
says,
a laser line. That's what I
well,
suggested.
Spencer says
when we-
lasers, but it could be as simple as a graphic on our TV. If the camera's stationary, we could draw one single line from that post to the camera center lens. And
Doug Leonard loves to fight. And we can go back to all of the Facebook chat groups this winter as proof of that. But Doug Leonard, even you have to admit that the transponder scored finish of the Xfinity race had to be adjusted to correct for the actual finishing order. I don't even want to go into.
Yeah, I'm not getting into it with
Doug won't, because Doug doesn't give up a fight, but I respect that about him.
Mark Rinaldi's just about to join us. Another guy who would not entertain your bullshit, Adam. He's like, at Brighton, that is not happening. But let's bring on our good buddy Mark Rinaldi, who's going to join us here to talk about rules. Mark, you know, the ODCC got our rules out for the next 3 years for the mini stock, street stocks across the province. You've made some changes locally at Brighton as well. I don't know if we've lost Mark or not, or if he's just frozen up.
A little bit of a delay there. By Mark's rules, although it was on the last lap coming to the finish line, but no, it wouldn't have worked anyhow, because you'd have to determine that someone had spun Parker Kligerman out. Kligerman would get their spot back, and the person that spun them would go to the back. So I'm up to speed on Rinaldi's rules.
You love picking old scabs, old wounds from the past. Just take that pen, just dig right in there on them, make them bleed again.
Mark, I'm sorry, I'm going to make you wait just a minute here, but here's the problem, Clint. When we have these arguments, all the fans side with you. We've got footage from the freaking car show about how people hate Adam Ross. I get it. I understand. I'm a strong-willed person. But when we have these debates without proof, without the visual, and we have these debates and I try to win the argument and I get shut down, no, Adam, you're just wrong. And then it happens at Atlanta in a NASCAR race and we can actually put the visual to it. Oh, yeah, maybe you were right. You didn't say that when we had the discussion.
I'm still not saying it. NASCAR had it right. You didn't. Mark, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, your video's a bit messed up. Just hold still. But, you know, this is where Adam inserts a remark about getting your wife all mad because your internet's bad out in the middle of nowhere and stuff, right?
I was just going to turn off the video. Nobody needs me anyways, but I can't even figure out how to turn that off. So,
Mark, you know, we had a question earlier. Why do the speedways wait till February to put their schedules out? You want to take that one?
I would say
yeah, that's.
I think we're gonna have to let Mark go.
Sorry so much, Mark.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure something out. Try again, maybe Mark. I don't know, Spencer, let us know if it works, but that is not going to cut it. While we wait for Mark to get back at him, I'll take that question. You know, a lot of the stuff here in Ontario is kind of intertwined. We used to wait for a lot of the bigger series to get their schedules out and stuff like that. I found in the past couple years since the pandemic, a lot of the teams have really tried to back their stuff up to PRI like a lot of the bigger U.S. deals have done. I know that's going to be the effort here for us to get our schedule out. I'm a little gun shy at Oshweekend because the 2 times in the last 7 years that I was prepared at the banquet with our schedule, one, we lost our parking and had to rip up the schedule because we couldn't do our big events because we had no parking. And the second was the pandemic came. So I'm a little gun shy. Here in Ontario, everybody's deadline used to be Motorama, right? Everybody would get our schedules, Brighton, Maryville, Humberstone, Flamborough. We'd all be ready for Motorama. We've kind of backed things up a bit further, and I think you'll start seeing a lot of schedules come out closer to, between October and December here in Ontario going forward in the years to come.
I think that's the goal, Clinton. But speaking of which, how many racetracks in Ontario are you running this year?
What are you talking about? Oshweekend, that's it.
The rumor mill churns. The grapevines, that I do have a few grapevines that come through my Facebook Messenger. That seems to be the way that I get my best gossip. And I'm hearing things coming from the Niagara area. What's going on?
No, I heard that rumor on the weekend too. Someone asked me, called me, and said it was I running Humberstone again. No, Terry Vince has worked out a deal with Glenn Stires to build engines, and I guess somehow I got swooped into that. Meant that I'd be helping Terry run the program. No, I moved on from Humberstone years ago. I mean, it was a great spot, and I have helped Terry with his schedule a bit, but that's pretty much where it ends, man. I got too much on my plate with Weekend, G-Force, what we've got going on. There's no way. Plus the NASCAR stuff. I don't even know how many Humberstone races I'd be in town for. I think we're on the road half.
I had to ask, right?
I'm glad you did.
This is how we deal.
I heard that 3 times this week. It's no. I get along with Terry great, and want him to be successful. But we're all working. That's one thing I can say, and I was hoping Mark would touch upon that. We had some issues. We had some issues with the 305s getting those ready for the ODCC, and the tracks really got together on short notice. Had together. I think we got Mark's audio. Mark, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We rarely do this. So, Mark, just talk about the cooperation between the ODCC and some of the challenges it took, and some of the steps the ODCC is taking to help mini stocks and thunder stocks, and some of the steps you guys are taking to help your late models bring the cost down at Brighton.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing, and we all talked about it, we started talking about rules in November and December. I know it takes too long to get them out, but it's just because it takes so much cooperation between everybody. But, the common theme going into the off season was, the rising cost of inflation, the rising cost of tires, the rising cost of fuel to get to the track. A key driver for everybody, I think, in pretty much every series was to try to stay status quo as much as possible because rule changes generally cost money. So as we sort of said in our posts this week and in our posts on the Brighton page and on the ODCC page, the most of the changes were for clarification, or if it was something that we thought would save money either in the short term or the long term of the sport. So I think we did a pretty good job in all the classes across the province that we're directly involved with, and I know modifieds and stuff are trying to do the same thing. But let's face it, the cost of racing is not cheap.
No, and it never has been. But I think right now the cost of living is so damn expensive that people have less disposable income all the time. Mark, when it comes to setting up common rules, try to compare a place like Brighton Speedway to a place like Ohsweken or Southern Ontario Motor Speedway are so vastly different. Are there many scenarios that come up that are a big deal at Brighton, but maybe aren't such a big deal at a high-speed track, or vice versa?
There's no. I mean, we've seen it in the mini stocks, and we have to adapt with it. We allowed cars to run different transmissions. It's more, with the guys that want to run multi-nights a week down there between Humberstone and Ohsweken's a big difference, right? So we had to get a little bit flexible on the rules there to make their lives a little bit easier. And hopefully, we're going to continue to monitor that situation and make sure that everything stays the same. I mean, Adam, it's the hardest part is getting everybody towards that one gate to get everybody going in the right direction. Once you have sort of everybody on target, as long as the promoters are like-minded and are doing what's best for the sport, I really feel it's not that hard to keep people on the same page. And if there is a difference of opinion, it's generally, like Clint said, we had multiple meetings these past 2 weeks to sort of one or two problems. And yeah, not everybody was on the same page at the start, but the good thing is with the 4 tracks, that part of the ODCC anyways, is that we all believe that it's important to stay on a common rules package. And there's slight differences between Brighton. We only allow Hoosiers, we don't allow American racers. There's a couple of different rules at different tracks in regards to procedures and stuff like that. But the main thing is that any car from any one of our tracks can go race at any one of our 4 tracks on any given night and not generally have an issue, right? So it is good, and it was a lot of work to get everybody in that direction to start, but we've got people there now, and it's just going to take a bit of work to keep everybody going in the same direction.
Yeah, Marcus, we look into the season coming up at Brighton. What are some of the high points you guys are looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, we're so far registration has been strong, so we're just looking to build off last year. I think, as you guys know, we had a great year last year. 0 rainouts, 3 or 4 sellouts where we literally sold out and sort of had to shut the gates before 2 of them before we even opened. Big events like Applefest, monster trucks, school bus races. So those are the, we're going to build off what we had last year and continue that strong trend. And, we've increased the purses a little bit to help offset some of the costs increase. And like you saw in our release this week, we made some other changes. So far late model registration is strong. We've got more cars registered and a bunch of new rookies, and even some guys from other parts of the province are still very interested in running Brighton a few times a year, and then running the whole NLMA series, which is good because we can keep people from the west still active with races out of Oswego, Humberstone, and Merrittville. And now we've got Brian McDonald in the east buying a track for races at Cornwall, so he can race at Cornwall, Brockville, and Brighton. So yeah, things are looking good, and hopefully we can just continue to build on the great season we had last year.
Mark, we got a great question in the chat. Are you familiar with what Josh Williams did on the weekend at Atlanta in the Xfinity Series?
No, I didn't watch it. Sorry. I see his name pop up in my feed a few times, but I haven't been too busy. Sorry.
So Josh Williams was involved in a wreck. He's a mid-pack car at best. They came into the pits. They put a lot of bear bond on the car to try to piece it back together. Still under yellow, he went back out on the racetrack. Some of the bear bond came off the car, and the officials over the radio told him to park it for extending that yellow flag. If you've extended the yellow flag, park your car. He parked it on the start-finish line, got out, and walked away. As a promoter, and this question is to both of you, as a promoter, how do you deal with this situation? What would be the ramifications of such a maneuver?
For me, it really all depends on how he takes it afterwards, right? Like, drama and energy and passion is all part of our sport. I get that. We get that. He may get a fine for it. He may get talking to, and if he acts responsibly and lives up to, what he did, and probably had some people cheering for him. I would take it all into effect. Now, if he continues to make a scene and goes all over the internet and makes everybody else out to be the bad person and he's innocent, then I don't ever make my judgment that night. I always let things kind of cool down before I make my judgment of what the final penalty would be.
Clinton Geoffrey?
I think, young Clint would be super pissed. But I'm kind of learning more and more. Well, he probably sold us some tickets, and a lot like Mark says, how was the attitude after? Can we laugh about it? Is he still spitting nails mad? I kind of like NASCAR's response. They towed his car to the NASCAR hauler, would not release it, and they demanded he go to the hauler right away, and he had to sit there in the principal's office, and it was not released until the race was over, and they decided to come and talk to him. I could see Doug Leonard doing that, making someone sit in the barn for a good hour and not being in a hurry to get back there to deal with that guy at the end of the race. So NASCAR kind of jerked his chain a bit at the end. But, I mean, I don't know. He sold some tickets. I think what would a guy like Humpy Wheeler say? He'd probably be patting him on the back and give him the old, don't you do that, but give him the wink on the way out. Thanks, brother. I don't know.
To Mark's point, how the driver deals with it does play a huge part. I never heard the actual audio from NASCAR. I would have been curious how the message was delivered. Was he told to park it? We all know what that means. It doesn't mean go to victory lane and stop on the start-finish line. It generally means go to the garage, but there's probably some internal conversations going on as well.
Yeah, and everybody's going to interpret it the way they want, right? But like I said, racing is a passionate sport. We get that. We understand that. Me and Clint have both been in situations where we're probably a little bit too passionate at time, even as promoters. But it is. That's what happens, and people get passionate. But the biggest thing, like I think we all agree here, is how you handle it afterwards, and can you handle it as a professional and have a chat about it and come to agreement that it probably shouldn't happen again, and how do we want to deal with it going forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mark, we appreciate you being here. Always good to chat with you. Work on your video too, but I just want to say before I let you finish off here, I hope you have a good season where you don't have to get very passionate on too many nights.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. You know how that works, Clint. But I just want to make one more comment to sort of what Adam said, about the cost of living going up. And this is where racing's been through this before, and a lot of hobbies go through this, right? And that's what racing comes down to at Brighton, Ohsweken, Merrittville, Humberstone, Brockville, in the province of Ontario. 9 out of 10, or probably 99 out of 100 racers are they're doing it for a hobby. We're doing it because it's a sport we've chosen, a hobby we love. And, nobody's going to get rich racing in Ontario. I shouldn't say nobody, not many people are. And people need to all, realize that it is a hobby. We need to work together to keep the cost low. We're lucky enough that we have great guys like Glenn Stiers that is passionate about racing, that has money and can invest as much as he does to make beautiful places like Ohsweken and put a lot of people in cars. But a lot of the track promoters are working hard and to keep costs down and make this the hobby of choice for people. And on the bright side, we're lucky that we can work with drivers to put enough of a show on that we can sell tickets that allows us to pay a bit of a purse and allows them to sell advertising on their cars, and allows them to offset a little bit of cost of their hobby. So, I think that people just got to realize that it is an expensive hobby, but there's a lot of other expensive hobbies out there too that don't give you the benefit of buying advertising on the side of your boat or your RV or other expensive hobbies, right? So we're pretty lucky to be in this one, and we just all need to keep working together to get through these times and hopefully keep our hobby strong.
Right on, Mark. Thanks, bud. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Adam, switching gears now. We had a good discussion this week. What is the role of the announcer at a racetrack play? And that led us to a whole bunch of other things. We're on a Facebook announcers group, and you're setting up an announcers forum here.
Yeah, so as you said, we're in a Facebook group with a number of other motorsports announcers. And I don't even remember what brought it up, but the question was, what is the role of an announcer and who is the announcer accountable to? And we got some very interesting answers in that Facebook chat, to the point where we're actually going to host a Zoom call with a number of motorsports commentators, and we're going to have the conversation, because the answer ranges to everywhere from announcers accountable to themselves, to the track owner, to the fans, to the teams, to a lot of different entities. And I don't know that there's a wrong answer. I think there's a lot of right answers. There's a lot of not so right answers, but I think everyone is different.
I think it depends on what the end game is for that announcing deal. Are you just announcing to the track crowd? Are you announcing to the track crowd and a live stream at home? So many different things. Are you just for the TV crew when you're maybe not associated with the track on a personal level at all? You're just there to, like you would say, like a hockey announcer, kind of impartial. The Leaf announcers are a little bit on the Leaf side, but for the most part, pretty open. Yes, Racing Mason, we'll gladly answer a question if we see it. Send it through.
So here's where I'll challenge you, Clinton, where I think you're not wrong with what you say, but we haven't changed our style very much since long before there was streaming.
This is true.
We've always gone with and I don't, you know what? I don't want to have too much of this conversation because I think it'll be great to get all the announcers together and have the chat. But the one thing that you and I and events that we've taken part in that we've always said openly, if the paying fans can see it, we should be able to talk about it.
Yeah, I think, the old school was you never talk down about the establishment, right? You never say nothing bad. And an old school announcing team, 40, 30, 50 years ago, you never talked about the establishment. And, I think we've evolved to be one of my favorite words, is real, authentic, whatever you want to say. If you sit out here with these people 20 nights a year, in some of our cases, in a lot of our cases, we've done this place, we've been at the job multiple years. We put in our 10,000 hours at these places in a lot of times. I'm not going to sit up there and lie to my friends about what we all just watched happen. Now, if the track's pissed off about that, and this has led us to push a lot of track people, as we got more older and cockier, to do a better job. Because we're not going to lie to the fans about the shitty call you just made. Get your calls right, get your team right, and we won't have to talk about anything negative. Don't give us anything negative to talk about, and we won't have to talk about it kind of attitude. And I think that goes for the drivers too. So a lot of things in the chat, and I won't try and lose the setup of it, was, well, you can never say anything talk bad about a driver. But you and I talked about this too. We've seen guys make brake checks coming to the line because they're pissed off at someone. And it's never the guy they're pissed off that gets caught up in. It's the two guys behind him that gets his stuff all wrecked. And I'm sorry. I'm always going to call that one as a shit-ass move.
Absolutely. I just got a message from our friend Jim Irvine, Rivalz Speedway, Clinton, about the announcers forum, saying, "Hey, how do I get involved in this?" But it's pretty cool. But I agree with you. We've seen enough, and where you've got to be careful here without being egotistical, Clinton, but you and I have been doing this for 25 years, and even in our first few years, I thought we were quite capable of understanding what was going on. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of poor judgments in what I chose to say. I'll own that. I'll own it every time I do it. But I won't take back the fact that I feel confident understanding what I'm looking at, just like you said, if someone brake checks the field. Because we know why they're doing it. And that's where I think our value has shown at the racetrack. So I don't necessarily think that someone should voice their opinion just because they're allowed to and they have a microphone. I think you have to feel competent. I think someone better give you that okay, give you the authority to say, hey, this is what we have you for. And Clint, you and I talked about it.
Whoever gave you that authority? Nobody's ever given you that permission.
Oh yeah, Glenn has always been. Glenn has never told us what not to say.
No, in fact, you like to tell the story about the cockeyed night when you were just describing what cockeyed
so
meant.
Mad.
And I was flipping out because they were watching it from another country on the stream, and they loved every minute of it.
So I stepped on my member last year at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and I was really hard on NASCAR officiating at that event. And it did come into question, and I had a boss who said, look, we pay this person to have an informed opinion. This was their informed opinion. So I understand where it didn't go over well, and I think I would handle that differently if I had to do it again. I don't think I was wrong, though, Clint. So that's where tact comes into play. But I still think we do a disservice if we see something that we really feel is incorrect and don't talk about it.
So the announcers forum is going to be Thursday at 7. Is that what you decided?
Yeah, 7 o'clock.
Thursday at 7. Let's stream it live and have some fun. If people want to tune in and see what the announcer crew has to say, it'd be cool. Our next guest is about to join us. Recently announced his new deal going 360s along with some crate racing. We'll bring on Mike Bowman to join us now. Mike, welcome to the program. How's it going today?
Things are good, man. How are you guys?
Good. So last year you left your modified behind, jumped into the crate sprint car, and dominated a lot of the races you were in. You know, give us an assessment of your first year in the sprints.
I don't know. I mean, it obviously went really well. Anytime you jump into a new car, new division, you're not sure totally what to expect. But yeah, we got dialed in quick, kept things simple, and just prepared well week in, week out. Schwiegen seemed to be the last thing that we got really good at, but yeah, got dialed in there too, and had a real good end of the season up there.
And you seem to make quite a bit of, I shouldn't say make quite a bit of money. You took home quite a bit of money with the sprint car, Mike. What do you attribute your instant success to? Like that's a different animal, is it not?
I don't know. I guess with the modified, what you leave pit road with is kind of what you're riding for the race, right? Aside from a brake bias adjustment, what you leave with is basically what you got for the feature. Whereas I'm really loving the tunability of the car while I'm racing with the wing. I think that it allows us to be a little bit more, I'll say conservative to start the race, because you're able to tighten up with the wing as the race goes on, which is something, of course, I'd love to have in a modified, be able to have more adjustability. We used to be able to adjust the rear panhard bar in the modified from the cockpit. And when we changed over to all the short rod rear suspension, which is, more based off what the late models are running, everybody kind of got away from that. Not to say you can't put one on today, but nobody seems to run it. It just seems to be what you leave the pit stall with is what you race. So I don't know, like early on, we had a steering box that we didn't think was giving us the proper hydraulic output for the valve. And, once we fixed that problem and the wing started to work more reliably for me, that's where we, when we really got dialed in out of Schwiegen, when we got that wing working.
Mike, if I had to take a look at your modified style in your, let's say, premier years at Merrittville, I would say that's the one thing that you guys maybe hurt you a bit, would be taking swings. You were never a guy. I'd look at you run third last week, and then you'd be having trouble the next week, and but you guys were never content. So that's a winner mentality, though. Like, third sucks, let's swing hard and go for the win. But a lot of nights that bit you. How do you avoid that type of thing with the sprint car, or the adjustability of the wing? Is that going to make up for that?
I'm not sure. I mean, at Merrittville, like you're saying, you got to look at who we were racing against back in the day, right? On any given night, let's just go back, I don't know, 5-6 years. On any given Saturday night, you're going to have Pete Bicknell, Matt Williamson, Chad Brackman, Eric Rudolph came over quite a bit. The back a bit further, we got Larry Lampman. Like we had pretty stiff competition. Guys that have a ton of experience in the seat and a ton of experience in the trailer to call those setups every night. So if you weren't perfect, and I mean, you're still going to have to be perfect in your modified to win up at Merrittville even today. But if you weren't close to perfect on your setup and your balance, like, yeah, you're going to run third. And if you take a swing and you miss, yeah, you're probably going to get lapped. So we came from a really, really stiff group of guys we raced against, really stiff competition. So I'm, like I said last week with Travis and Jonathan there, I haven't raced a whole bunch with the guys in 360, so I don't totally know how to sort of judge where we might slot in, but I just think we just go racing the only way we know how and show up prepared and go at it.
Mike, with what you know about sprint car racing, do you have time behind the wheel to race different drivers differently like you might have with the modified in a longer race? Or do you just have to go balls to the wall with your program and take them as they come?
No, I mean, I'm always watching. I mean, especially if we're up there and the crates were running last or whatever. I mean, if I'm up there and I'm racing sprint cars and I'm trying to see what the track's doing or where the lines are at, I'm usually up at the fence somewhere watching racing, right? So I'm watching where the cars are running. I'm also watching, you know, different competitors and how they run. And, you know, we're all unique out there and we all have different tendencies. So you guys are great. You put every race free on YouTube. So when I'm bored during the winter, I watch a lot of that too. And since we've committed to run more 360 racing here, I've definitely gone back and watched most of last year's races at this point.
Mike, what's the schedule looking like for you? You know, is your concentration going to be on the crate and dabble 360s, 360s dabble crates? What are you guys? Where's the mix in there for you going forward?
Don't have a super hard plan right now. We're actually going to start the year off in the modified, shooting for April 15th at Can-Am Speedway. After that, you know, hopefully everything comes together on this 360 deal. We get to hit the SOS show at Merrittville. I won't do double duty in the modified at Merrittville, so we'll just be there with the sprint car. And the following weekend on the 29th, we're back in the 358 at Fulton Speedway, which I've never raced in a modified, only sportsman. So we're looking forward to that. And then, yeah, I think we get maybe a few weeks off before, I don't know, when's the crate racing start up?
19th for us at Ush Weekend, May 19th.
Right. And when's the first AST East race? Isn't there one earlier in May?
There could be. You're putting me on the spot now. I'll have to look that one up right now.
Someone's telling me there's one earlier May, which I mean, I love going up to Brockville. Always welcome there by the Kirkland family. It's always a great place to race. And yeah, so if there's an East race out there before things get going around out here, then we're going to head out there too.
Yeah, May 13th is an East race.
Okay. We really do have some great racing promoter families in Ontario. You know, the Kirklands down at Brockville, the Rinaldis, the Steyers, the Speaces. There's a lot of good pockets, good people that you can show up to these racetracks. You know, you're going down to Can-Am to start things off, so you'll be going down to see the Bartletts down there. Is it like that everywhere, do you think, Clint? Mike, you're pretty well traveled, or is it different up here?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're an out of towner, usually you're given the red carpet a little more on your first time, but maybe as you wear out your welcome, sometimes things can change. But yeah, I find when we go on the road, usually I've traveled to Cornwall more than any other track, especially in the pandemic. Raymond was always trying to put on shows down there. And at one time, you know, Brockville and Cornwall were the only tracks racing. So we were hitting the road. And, you know, Raymond down at Cornwall, he would always make sure that we had these spots that you could back up the road that went up to the tower and get out of there. Because he knew, we're nuts. We'll leave for home at 12:30 or 1 o'clock and just drive all night. So he knew it was important to us to get out of there right after the races. And we always appreciate Raymond for what he does when we roll in there.
Yeah, Raymond's been great to work with for us as far as scheduling and just everything we've been working on. And before him, you know, Moran was great too. Let's talk about, you know, your package, Mike, that you're going to bring to the table. If I understand correctly, your crate package is what you dominated with last year. I'm going to keep that intact. Tell us about the new situation and where the 360 and how that's all going to come together. Yeah,
so just picked up, we we picked up the car and we started assembly, and I found the cockpit a little bit more snug than my crate car. So I called Brett last night, and he said, get the thing on tires, get here today, and we'll see what we can do. So we were at GSR pretty much all afternoon, and we bought ourselves, a couple inches in the cockpit, which is great when you're 6'2". You don't like to be racing a sprint car crunched up in the fetal position, that's for sure. So Brett bought me a couple inches. We changed the bar to get me in and out a little easier. So yeah, that's the chassis portion. It's all, everything's dressed in all the hard parts that GSR is marketing now. Engine wise, Terry's been building everything I've raced pretty much for the last 13 years. So Terry and Glenn have now teamed up. Going to be offering badass 360s right here in Ontario. For those guys that don't know Terry, don't underestimate that guy. We're really lucky to have a guy with that much knowledge, and don't think he doesn't know alcohol too, because he's spent a ton of time racing high-level NHRA drag racing, and they ran alcohol. So Terry knows how to get it done.
I think you're absolutely right, Mike. Well, listen, thanks for coming and hanging out with us tonight. It's going to be exciting to have another top team come out and join us this year. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more of that.
Yeah, same. Looking forward to it, guys.
Mike, I know you have a lot of guys that help you. Give a shout out to some of the corporations that are behind you to help get this done. You're one of the guys who maximizes it. When we got the call from Rev TV to send a car to the International Car Show, only took one call. Mike says, I got to get out there for my guys in Toronto. So, Mike, tell us a bit about your relationships before you go, and how important the business is.
Yeah, well, first of all, the pandemic crushed that show for 2 or 3 years, right? So we knew the auto show was going to be big this year, and I haven't got the final numbers yet, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty big, in the hundreds of thousands of people through there. So when that opportunity comes up for a guy like me, where I got Ryko, who's based out of Australia and Texas, it's kind of tough to give those guys an ROI on a super local level, right? So that really fit for us. We were really glad to jump on that opportunity. Dynablast, which is a line of hot and cold water pressure washers marketed by John Brooks' company out of Toronto. That was cool, because the owners, he dabbles in some asphalt motorsports, but really, not at the level that we're doing it. So he knows of sprint car racing, but a lot of those guys are car guys, and they were going to the show, so that was great for us to get Dynablast in there in that show. They've stepped up in a bigger way this year, and you're going to see them a lot more loud and proud on the side of the wing in the 71. We just signed a new sponsor last week, Contemporary Concrete Solutions out of Niagara-on-the-Lake. I've known Luke for quite a long time, but really never put his talents to use until we did the floor at the new shop here. And man, if you're looking for a really sick concrete floor for your race shop, Luke's the guy to call. So glad to have Contemporary Concrete Solutions on board this year. TKC Metal has been with me for I don't know, probably 3 years now. Glad to have them. Staying them on Onwood Truck. They're a steady Eddie as well with us. Seaway Fluid Power, IRP Max, Douglas Hydraulic Manufacturing. Just so many guys. Nick's Truck Parts. So yeah, takes a lot to put a top team together, and you definitely can't do it without help.
Right on, Mike. We appreciate you being here. I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon. Good luck getting it all together.
Yep. Thanks.
Have a good one, Mike.
Well, Adam, do you want to talk about the Hamlin penalty, the Hendrick penalties, or the Rattler 250 weekend at South Alabama Speedway?
I'm good with any of them. Go ahead and start as you see fit. We do have a question we have to address from a little bit earlier about us having favorites, Clinton. I thought that was an interesting question.
Yeah. So Alvers, we did not get too much into the Rattler. I did reach out to Matt Weaver, who is our Southern specialist and reporter when it comes to that stuff. I'm going to try and get Matt on next week. We have a few things to wrap up. He was part of the action down at Five Flags the week before, so there's all kinds of stuff there. We're going to try and talk to Matt Weaver. Bubba Pollard swept the weekend and ran very well in both the Rattler and the Baby Rattler on the weekend, so it wasn't really much to tell other than, Georgia's own got it done down there.
And I don't think anybody got arrested.
No, just quickly, Adam, I think the Hendrick and the Hamlin penalty, if you watch the NASCAR pre-race, man, they all got a chance to slam NASCAR. NASCAR could not have been happy. Hendricks was voicing their argument with Jeff Gordon, basically saying that none of these cars ever saw competition. How could it be such a hefty penalty? I think you're going to see something get backed up on that. And Denny Hamlin, he lipped off on a podcast and got his hand slapped for that. And he was on there too, saying he's going to appeal it now and saying, hey, when we left the track, it should have been over. What I want to say outside the deal should not cost me points.
Well, he's wrong because everything you say everywhere is up for debate, for scrutiny, and people get judged all the time. Ask Kyle Larson. So everything you say anywhere can be used against you, and it will be used against you if you're dumb enough to say certain things out loud. So, yeah, that was his judgment. Now, he may not even regret saying it, but he said it. He made that choice. You have to pay the price. Let's talk about penalties. The reason for doing technical inspection, and NASCAR has shown this for a long, long time, they don't take away wins from people. So a lot of their technical inspection process, Clinton, is to make a statement to keep people from doing it again. For that reason, I don't think it matters that those Hendrick parts never saw their way to the racetrack. The fact is, they showed up with parts they shouldn't have. NASCAR found them to be in violation. I say stick it to them. What, were they just going to have illegal parts on the car and then take them off for race day? No, NASCAR found them during one of their technical inspection processes, which is their right to do. You got busted, suck it up. They're lucky they still have all the wins that they've got, right? I don't understand sometimes how people appeal. Well, that's not the way it's been before. Shut up, it's the way it is now.
I did not expect that answer from you, but I'm impressed by it nonetheless. All right, let's go back to the question that Mason asked. Who are our favorites at Oshweekend and Maryville? Well, I mean, as the manager, I can't say that. I as announcers, we're not really supposed to say that. It'll be a lot easier. I could tell you who I dislike a lot easier than I like at the places. How about that?
Well, here's my take on that, Clinton. I don't think you would ever know who I don't like. And there's not very many people I don't like. I don't have favorites, but I love a good story. We are storytellers. We're there to help build excitement. So I loved telling stories about Ryan Beagle on a slick track and how I thought he should dye his mustache black so it just looked badass. Yeah, do I like him? Yeah, but it's a great story. It's a story we can tell. Every driver, and this is where I think you will find the good announcers in the world know a little bit of backstory or a lot of backstory about different drivers, different cars. So do I have a favorite? No, but I love a good story.
Yeah, I think, I'm in the same boat. It's like an underdog. You want the guy who struggled all week or, had issues with the shop burning down. We've seen that. And those are the stories everybody's rooting for on the weekend to get back on track. I think those are the great aspects. I mean, I deal with things in a different dynamic than you do. I spent a week fighting with race teams about certain rules and stuff, and that kind of burns me down. I can say, Adam, on a personal level, last week was probably the first week in 7 years that I thought, am I in the right business? Like I was chipped away, so frustrated. And it took a long time for me to get there, but man, I just had to kind of reset this week, and it's tough, man. Some weeks just burns you down.
The off season is long, and challenging, and it can take a lot out of you.
I think it's cute when we put rules together and then the drivers tell us, well, no, once you make all the other guys do this, we'll do that. And I'm like, no, I think that's why we have the question. Who really makes the rules? When you guys want to get your own sandbox and put your own track together and set up your own rules and buy your own insurance and pay your own payouts and get your own crew together, then you guys can make the rules. Until then, we're making the friggin' rules. If you don't like it, go golfing. That's my rant I've been waiting all week to say.
Anybody I've ever known whose opinion I value, racing must be run by a benevolent dictator. Not by a committee, not by a club, not by a benevolent dictator who sees and sometimes you're just a dick, but usually you're the full dictator, and that's the way it needs to be.
I need the tater to go along with the dick some days, but it works.
That's right. Don't forget the taters.
I think that's it for this week. Thanks, everybody, for hanging around with us. Always good chat. Thanks all our supporters and sponsors and our guests who join us, as usual. Thanks for sending in suggestions. Robbie sent us in a suggestion. Robbie asked to get Caleb Wood on the show. I reached out to Caleb, and he said they're taking a couple years off to concentrate on new business, but he appreciates the thoughts and would love to chat with us in the future. On that note, I think we are done.
Yeah, I had something I really wanted to add to the conversation about 3 minutes ago, Clinton, and you were on a good rant, and I thought, okay, just wait on it. Totally escaped me.
Okay, let's set up. Thursday night at 7, you can catch the announcer chat on GeForce Live. Adam and Dave have their race this weekend. Is that Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning?
It's not really a race. If we both complete the 5 kilometers, my goal is to maintain a jog the entire 5 kilometers, which I have never done. But really, as long as we get through it and we're still on the right path, then I'll be pretty happy.
All right. On the words of Fran, he says, Weebert Valley, no rules. I love it. All right, see you guys. Talk to you next week. We appreciate everybody being here. We'll see you soon.
Night.
Peace.
Night, y'all.